Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, football fans around the world. It is the D to the O to the U to the G here, and of course, we have Mr. Johnny Be Good. How you doing today, Johnny?
Pretty good. I got freaking Wendy's for lunch right now.
Wendy's. Oh, that sounds delicious right now. Actually, I wish I had some, but
I have a double stack of onions fry.
That's good at least. Hope you're having a good day today. Congratulations to your Ravens, by the way, winning again.
Yeah.
I know that's always a good thing. Let's do a quick recap of this past week. Then I have to go into singing the Christmas song since my Cowboys did lose on Thanksgiving. Then, of course, it's the best and worst news from this week. And then, of course, straight to the picks for football and college. And then we'll talk about some hockey and basketball news, particularly the bullshit in the Rockets game last night. But in Week 13, the Bears showed that they're actually still alive in the playoff hunt by defeating the Lions, which eliminated the Lions from the playoffs. The Bills showed America who they really are by dominating the Cowboys. The Saints almost let the Falcons come back, but the Saints held on, eliminating the Falcons, and the Saints were the first team to get a playoff spot by winning their division. On Sunday, the Bengals got the first win of the year after letting the Turkeys rain down upon the Jets. Somebody's going to get that reference to the WKLP Cincinnati ship. Titans beat the Colts. Eagles got upsetted in Miami by the Dolphins, giving Dallas still the division lead. Packers won the lock of the week, beating the Giants. Unfortunately, the Giants did have some injuries, which we'll talk about later. The Steelers get the revenge on Cleveland. Panthers lose to the Redskins, causing somebody their job. Buccaneers easily handle their business against the Jaguars, which we'll talk about them later. The Broncos beat the Chargers because, well, the Chargers defense did something stupid. Ravens beat the 49ers in a rainy game thanks to kicking. The Rams easily had the easiest game of the week, beating the Cardinals with ease. Also easy, the Chiefs dominated the Raiders in a point to where that was one of the worst games to watch. Sunday night, the Texans shocked the world by beating the Patriots. And on Monday, the Seahawks put the Vikings in their place and really switched up the NFC playoff standings. For the season, for that week, I went 11-5, and for the season, I'm 122, 71, and that one tie from way back at the beginning of the year.
So wait, what's your total record?
122, 71, and 1.
God, 8 games back.
You how many games back?
8.
Well, that means you're gonna have to hope I lose. I would have to go 8-8 for the next 2 weeks for you to catch up.
I just got hope you have week 10 every goddamn week.
Yeah, that terrible week 10. But since the Cowboys did lose. Oh, what was that, Johnny?
No, I'm gonna talk about some games.
We're going to be discussing games when we get to the best and worst, because there's a lot to talk about there. But first, as we do here every time I end up losing, the Cowboys lost, I had to sing, and since it is December, it's Christmas music, so I know Fine Ninja will not be watching. Anyway, here we go. Do. Frosty the Snowman was a jolly happy soul, with a corn pipe and a button nose and 2 eyes made out of coal. Frosty the Snowman is a fairy tale, they say. He was made of snow, but the children know how he came to life one day. There must have been some magic in that old silk hat they found, for when they placed it on his head, he began to dance around. Oh, Frosty the Snowman was alive as he could be, and the children say he could laugh and play just the same as you and me. Thumpity thump thump, thumpity thump thump, look at Frosty go. Thumpity thump thump, thumpity thump thump, over the hills of snow. Oh, Frosty the Snowman knew the sun was hot that day, so he said, let's run and we'll have some fun now before I melt away. Down to the village with a broomstick in his hand, running here and there around the square saying, catch me if you can. He led them down the streets of town, right to the traffic cop. And he only paused a moment when he heard him holler, stop! Frosty the snowman had to hurry on his way, but he waved goodbye saying, don't you cry, I'll be back again someday. Thumpity thump thump, thumpity thump thump, look at Frosty go. Thumpity thump thump, thumpity thump thump, over the hills of snow. And there you go, Frosty's been saying. Yeah, Frosty's old, but it is one of my favorite Christmas cartoons. It's actually, and this shows you how much of a kid I am at heart. I have Frosty the Snowman on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray.
Jesus.
Yes.
Fun fact, you know in 3 days, December 7th, it's going to be 50 years since the actual first airing of Frosty the Snowman.
That does not surprise me in the very least. So let's get to the best and worst now, like the plan was. So, what game should we talk about first from last week?
I'm going to choose my worst team of the week right now. It's the Jets. I hate this team. I hate them so much. They keep fucking up so many winless seasons. It's annoying.
Yeah, I gotta let you keep going because you're making me laugh, so keep going.
They're like the one team, let's go and play against the Raiders pretty well, then let's shoot it against the Bengals. Like, what the hell? This team has been ruining winless seasons since, like, there's just existence. Honestly, the Bengals are going to go 16 before the Jets showed up. Now they're probably going to go 1-15 or 2-14.
Well, I would like to point out that this is the second time the Jets have given somebody their first win of the season, the first one being Miami during the middle of the season. As far as for my worst team, I had a hard time picking because the Jets was a good one. The Eagles could be given one because they had one of the easiest games on the schedule this week. Oakland and Cardinals would be a good choice as well because they both laid a mental goose egg. But I got to go with you. I have to agree with the Jets as well because they did lose to a team who was winless at that point. I would say this, going into it, the Cowboys were the worst team on Thanksgiving. There's no way I can lie about that. They were the worst team on Thanksgiving Day. But the Jets overall were the worst team of this past week. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I don't think you can make a case for any other team except maybe Oakland, since Oakland pretty much didn't even bother to show up against Kansas City. But
what's up with Oakland? I thought they were actually going to be in the playoffs. But now it's like...
Yeah, they went from being control of their own destiny for even winning the division, or at least getting the 6th seed, to what the hell happened. 2 weeks really has changed in the NFL for them.
I mean, they got outscored. What was it?
It was like 40-9, I think the final was. I know it was a dominating win by the Chiefs.
They got dominated 74 to 6 in the last 2 games.
Yeah, one of them was against the Jets, which is freaking hilarious. Just to give a quick recap why we say that, let's see, I do not want the highlights from the Seattle Vikings game. I actually watched that game. Raiders lost 49-30, and then if you want to go back to week 12, like we just said, the Jets beat them 34-3. So they've been getting dominated this whole few weeks. So there's no lies there. Best team of this past week, I'm actually going to give it to the Houston Texans for beating the Patriots. I don't think a lot of people saw that happening. It does change up the AFC a little bit, putting the Ravens in the number 1 seed at the moment due to tiebreaker situations because they did beat the Patriots. So it is one of those situations, which we'll discuss playoffs later on in the video. Who was your best team of this past week?
I'm actually going to give it to the whole matchup of the Baltimore Ravens versus 49ers. I'm actually going to do something respectful. I think the 49ers put up a valiant effort against one of the best teams in the league. I'm going to give them respect. I mean, you could say they're not a real team. They haven't played any real competition. I mean, the fact that they almost stepped up the bar is very like not many teams can actually say that.
That is true. I can understand why you would do that, though. I mean, it was a great game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too mad at the 49ers actually won because I know they're a good team.
Oh, my mom would have been pissed. So.
I thought I was a toxic Ravens fan.
She's not toxic. She just hates any team from the state of California. I would say the best game of this past week, going with that, it was the Ravens and 49ers. That was probably the best game of this week. I don't think you could... The only other one I could even say was even close was maybe the Seattle Vikings game. That was like the only other game I could say that was great. And maybe the Broncos Chargers, excluding for that ending, that Chargers shot themselves in the foot, which we'll talk about later.
That's the most Charger way to end a game.
Oh, it is. As far as for the worst game of this past week, I have to go with, I know a lot of people are not going to understand my philosophy with this, I have to go with the Chiefs, Raiders, and Rams, Cardinals, because those two games were blowouts. Those two games were over at halftime. So, well, guess what? The Chiefs and Raiders game was so over with that CBS in my area switched it to the Chargers-Broncos game. Very rarely does a station switch games because one game is so terrible. It rarely happens, but it did this week.
And I think the Cardinals were upset last week up 85.
Yeah, that was not good for you. Now, let's talk about some of these games in greater detail. First, we're going to head to New York, because that's the first big one. Packers did win, but here's the thing. Giants rookie quarterback, he is walking around with a boot right now, so he will not be playing Monday. So guess who's starting quarterback Monday?
Eli Manning. Let's go!
Eli Manning's back in the starting lineup, so if you do have Eli Manning in fantasy, please plan accordingly. We will talk about that game later on.
Why would I play him, though?
The rookie quarterback's out injured, so they kind of don't have a choice.
Well, and me in fantasy.
Well, depending who the starting quarterback is.
The only scenario I can see them actually changing quarterbacks if Jameis Winston's QB1.
Or Nick Foles.
Basically.
Next, so we're going to be talking about the Giants a little later because that does play a key factor into the NFC standing playoff situation. But the Giants are eliminated, but they can still cause some havoc. Next game, the Panthers and Redskins. Now, I'm going to give credit to the Redskins. They won that game. I was shocked they won. I think most of the Redskin fan base was shocked they won. But what makes this kind of sad, this pretty much what cost Ron Rivera his job. I think if they would have won that game, he would have not been fired to the end of the season. I will say this, though. Ron Rivera was gracious. He didn't, throw anybody under the bus. He was acting class. He actually showed some class in a sport to when people get fired, the head coach cries like a bitch. But he didn't do that. He took it like a man, and I applaud him. And I also want to applaud the Panthers owner, and I should say this. The Panthers owner, who is new, he bought the team last year. I couldn't understand why he fired Ron as well, because that was not his guy. He didn't hire him. Same with Cam Newton. He didn't draft Cam Newton. That was the previous owner. And to give the owner credit for this as well, he actually did it in a statement, said, I didn't want to go behind his back, but there were games left looking for a head coach and let all this media happen. I just figured it would be best to fire him now. Use an interim head coach the rest of the way while I look for a new head coach. He did it the right way. He didn't do any backstabbing, so I applaud him for that. Now, I will say this with Ron Rivera, he is the most winningest head coach in the Panthers' history. Now, Johnny, I know you're not a big Panthers fan, but do you think this will help the Panthers in the long run, depending on who they get?
I think they're going to do a rebuild.
Yeah, I agree there. They do need a rebuild. I will say this with Ron Rivera. I do think he will become a coach again. I think he will be hired after the season by somebody. I actually have a good idea who it might be. Mm-hmm. There's two teams I have in mind. One, Atlanta, because I think everyone's kind of in agreement we're probably going to see him get fired after this season. If he doesn't, I would be shocked. The second one, the Redskins. I mean, Redskins are going to need a new head coach, and Ron Rivera, he's not a bad coach. He can do good, but the thing is, he's a defensive-minded coach. So he's not great on the offense, but he's a great defensive-minded. I know it hasn't shown much this year, but that's due to injuries, and this gives me to Cam Newton. Cam Newton's been out this year. It was announced he's had surgery today. So do you think he's done in Carolina? Do you think they're just going to cut their losses and trade him or cut him?
Yeah, I think it's time. I mean, they got some nice pieces to build around. They have Brian Burns. They have DJ Moore. They have Christian McCaffrey. They have a lot of nice pieces to build around.
I agree.
I think they just need to start over. I mean, this is the second year in a row they collapse. Like, think about it. Ever since, like the 49ers game, they haven't looked the same.
I would agree there. And hello, Dave. Dave says, let's go 49ers. We'll be talking about that game later on. But
can I say one more thing?
Go ahead.
This is the same exact situation as last year. Get blown out on the road against a good team by 50 points. Like while the other team scores 50 points, and the team just loses their soul. Except this time, they actually won a game. that one game against the Titans.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this as well, and this comes with the rest of the Panthers games, and unfortunately it does make the Sunday game a little difficult when we talk about it. The Panthers-Falcons, it does make that game a little bit more hard to predict now. Noah Turner was also, I believe, let go as well, so the Panthers might just be like, hey, we're probably just going to worry about getting a draft pick to suit, a good draft pick. So there's the Panthers situation. Now let's head to Philadelphia and Miami. Oh boy, I want to talk about this game. Yeah, Miami beat Philly, which I know I was shocked. You kind of said Miami had a chance, so I'll give you. You didn't say Miami had a chance to win, so I'll tip my hat to you on that one. But man, Eagle fans were pissed. There was actually a petition, and I think it had like 1,000 signatures of Eagle fans demanding that the Eagles team walk home from Miami to Philadelphia. They don't deserve to get on the team plane or team bus. But what's wrong with Philly, man? This was a team not too long ago that was a Super Bowl contender, won a Super Bowl, to now it looks like Dallas might win the division, or hell, I can't believe I'm saying this, the Redskins can win the division, and we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
But
I want the Redskins to win the division 7-9. That'd be the most hilarious thing to happen.
It would be just, I think I would be violently ill and want to have cancer. If that happens. But Philly, I don't get what's with Philly, because this was the chance. Dallas lost on Thanksgiving. The Eagles were given a golden opportunity, and then they blew it. If they lose to the Giants on Monday, I expect a lot of heads to be rolling. And I know to a degree it's not all Philly's fault technically. Yes, I know Carson Wentz has not been playing as well, but
Carson Wentz played well this game.
He did play well. But I mean, overall for the season, he hasn't played great. But that's not all on him, because he's missing his star running back, who pretty much is out for the season. He's missing his key wide receiver, who's out for the season. And I don't care who you are, it's not helping that his receivers and tight ends are dropping passes. Not all of it's on him. Yeah, not all of it's on him. Now, I will say this: some of the blame does need to go on the offense and defense. I think a lot of some of the blame should also go on the coaches and offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators. Dave says he should have kept Nick and traded Carson. That's what a lot of Philly fans are saying right now. They would rather have Nick back. Granted, we'll see how that's going in Jacksonville, which we'll get to them in a minute.
Yeah, Nick Foles is not doing well in Jacksonville, so you would be doing worse.
But I'm going to ask this question. If the Eagles lose the rest of the way, which there is a chance, do you think fans would be demanding Carson Wentz gets let go? Because they signed him to that big year contract, and they got him for another 4 or 5 years.
No Eagles fans and their intelligence, quote-unquote. Probably.
I mean, I don't think all of this again, you know, I think a lot of the Eagle fans just need to and I'm going to say this for Cowboy fans too, because both of them, a lot of them are acting like idiots. Just take a goddamn chill pill. The division's bad. All 4 teams are bad. This is just one of those weird seasons. Take a deep breath. You're still alive in the playoff hunt, so calm down. All right, this is what I mean. And we're actually going to be talking about Phillip Rivers in a few minutes, Dave. But Dave says he could see Phillip Rivers in an Eagles jersey. That's not going to happen. The rumor has been well, we'll get to that later. Moving on to the next game, Jacksonville in Tampa. Now, we're not talking about Tampa. Tampa won. That was obvious. But guess what happened in the game? Nick Foles was benched at halftime because he played like ass.
This is ridiculous.
So I'm going to say this. Jacksonville's probably regretting giving Nick Foles that money.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't even a fan of the signing, really.
I was to a degree because I said, you know, this is Nick Foles' chance to prove he's actually a winning quarterback. Yes, I know he's got a Super Bowl ring, something that a lot of teams in the NFC can't say. But we always say he was a great backup, but every time he's been the starting quarterback, he's sucked. And unfortunately, it's been like that again. I'm going to say this. I think Nick Foles, to be honest, shouldn't have even came back because of the injury. I think that's part of it. They should have just had him rest the whole season, even after he was cleared, and just worry about next season. Because you weren't doing much this year after he went down. So we'll see what happens next year, but it is interesting. I don't think Jacksonville will get rid of him yet because of all that money, but I think if he does bad next season, oh yeah, he done.
I thought just start to the rest of the way.
Yeah, that's what I would do as well.
I mean, see what you got in him. I mean, even though you see what you got in him, like, the first couple of weeks might as well play out.
I agree. And by the way, speaking of that, the Steelers quarterback who won in the game this past week will be starting again. So I think the Rudolph era is over in Pittsburgh. I think it's officially dead. Moving on to the last game I want to talk about before we get to the playoff standings. Broncos and Chargers. Now, that game was actually I actually watched that whole game because I had NFL Sunday Ticket. I actually enjoyed that game. And I thought it was going into overtime until the Chargers defense made a stupid mistake. By the way, congratulations to Drew Lock, his first one as a rookie quarterback. And he didn't go off the field taking pictures with people like the Redskins quarterback. But the reason I want to bring this game up, a lot of people blame Phillip Rivers for that loss, and I'm like, first of all, you cannot blame Phillip Rivers for the loss to Denver this week. Oh, hell no. It goes to that defensive idiot who did pass interference.
Casey Hayward.
Thank you for his name. Say his name again. Say it loud and proud.
I think it was Casey Hayward. I think that's who it was.
Well, whoever he was, he wins the dumbass of the week because he cost his team the game by doing the pass interference. It put Denver in field goal range, and Denver won the game. Now, it is a funny way for the Chargers to lose the game because that's all they've been doing. Now, here's the thing with that. He says Derek Wolfe was sacking the QB while injured. That's what I was reading. Okay. But here's the thing. Chargers will have been losing in ways that have been hilariously funny and sad. They've been doing that all year. Ironically, last year they had a great record being when they were down by 7 points or less.
To be honest.
Well, that too. But last year they were good doing it, though. You remember all these close games they've lost last year. Well, last year they won most of them, but one, I think. This year it's the opposite. But with the Chargers, you know, I think the Phillip Rivers era is done with the Chargers. You know, there was talks that Sunday before the football game started that Rivers was going to be benched. He wasn't going to be playing, but then he plays anyway because I think a lot of the Charger fans got pissed like what the Giants did to Eli a few seasons ago. But I think it's done, and the rumor is he might be going to Tennessee because he wants to be closer to where he grew up. So he could be either going to North Carolina or Tennessee. It's going to be interesting to see what they do there. I do think this. If he goes to Carolina, I think that's going to be a big boost for whoever the new head coach is going to be. And Phillip Rivers will actually have a running back who won't sit out and do a holdout. And if he goes to Tennessee, hey, you're in a division that's easier to win because Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and Houston. But it will be interesting. But Johnny, I think the Phillip Rivers era is over, which is sad.
Yeah. I think it was Casey Hayward, it looks like.
Okay. So that is unfortunate there. That's pretty much all that for this past week. I don't think there's another game we need to talk about, is there?
I think they should start the Lions should start David Blow for the rest of the year.
You mean the backup quarterback they have right now playing?
Yeah, they should. Yeah. I mean, at least you can see something in him. I mean, he did okay against the Bears.
Yeah, I agree there. I think that's what's going to happen.
I mean, you're already eliminated from playoff. You might as well see what you got in him.
Yep. All right, and here are the offensive leaders. Somebody wanted me to do this, and that's what I'm going to do. Your number one offensive leader when it comes to passing yards, it is Dak Prescott at 3,788. Your league rusher right now is from the Cleveland Browns, Nick Chubb. Leading receiver in yards is Michael Thomas. Your defensive leader in tackles is Blake Mesowitz with 118. Leader in sacks is Tampa Bay Shaquille Barrett. Thank you. Leading in interceptions, we have a three-way tie between Devin McCowney for New England, Marcus Peterson, and M. Fitzpatrick. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that damn name. Thank you.
See, this is why you have me, just so I can pronounce names easily.
Yeah, because my name, I'm not good at pronouncing names. But let's get to the standings, because that's what we need to talk about right now. In the AFC, there wasn't a lot of changes to a degree, excluding one big one. The Ravens are the number one seed right now, as they did beat New England. That's why they had that tiebreaker. If the Ravens win out, Ravens would be the one seed, and the AFC would go through Baltimore. At the moment, New England is number 2 at 10-2, but here's the kicker. If Buffalo Bills win out and New England at least loses one more game, well, pretty much loses to Buffalo, the Buffalo Bills will go from the 5th seed to the 2nd seed. So, Patriots, granted, it would mean Buffalo would have to beat Baltimore this week, but so there's even a chance Buffalo could be the 1 seed. Let that sink in there, everybody. Buffalo could steal it, but right now the 2 seed is New England. The 3rd seed, it is Houston, and 4th is Kansas City. The 5th seed is, like I said, the Buffalo Bills, and they're in control of their own destiny. Even if they lose 2 of the next 4 games, they go 2-2, they still win the wild card. So their magic number is get to 11 wins, and you're in the playoffs. The 6th seed is Pittsburgh right now at 7-5 because of tiebreaker over Tennessee, who's 7-5 as well. Oakland and Indianapolis are still in it at 6-6, but they got to get some help. Cleveland is technically still in it, but they're on life support right now. If they lose one more game, they are out. Jacksonville and Denver, Chargers, Jets, they're still alive, but they need a miracle, so I'm just going to say they're eliminated at this point. Miami and Cincinnati have already been eliminated, and Cincinnati still holds the number 1 pick. In the NFC, sorry Dave, I have to do this to you. The Saints are the number 1 seed right now at 10-2, and they have clinched their division. So they can do no worse than the 3rd seed. Seattle's the 2nd seed right now at 10-2 due to them beating San Francisco earlier in the season and beating Minnesota on Monday. 3rd seed is Green Bay right now at 9-3, but they do not have the division locked up yet because Minnesota's right on their heels. Dallas is the 4th seed right now at 6-6, and is the only reason Philadelphia is still alive in their division because the division sucks. San Francisco is the 5th seed right now at 10-2, mostly due to losing to Seattle. They don't have that conference, and they did lose to Baltimore this past week. But San Francisco can still make it even as a wild card. They just have to at least win 2 of the next 4 games, which is possible. Minnesota's the 6th seed right now at 8-4, but because of their loss, it does open the door back up for the Rams and Chicago to steal it. Rams are the 7th seed right now. They would have to win out and have Minnesota lose the rest of the way. Chicago has to win out and hope the Rams in Minnesota, lose the rest of the way. Tampa Bay is on life support, but there's no way they can really make it because they would need to win out and have the Bears, Rams, and Vikings lose the rest of the way. Unfortunately, Bears and Vikings play against each other, so that kind of eliminates that from happening. Philly is still alive as well, but they have to win out and hope the Cowboys lose the rest of the way. Carolina's eliminated, Detroit's eliminated, Arizona's eliminated, and the Giants are eliminated. But you saw I left one team out, and who was that, Johnny? There was one team I didn't say in the NFC. Redskins. Because of their win over Carolina, if they would have lost, they would have been eliminated. If the Redskins win out and go 7-9, Dallas loses the rest of the way. Eagles can only win one game, but that has to be against the Cowboys. If it ends 7-9 and 3 tie, the Redskins win the division. Or B, if the Cowboys and Eagles have a tie, I did the math, ESPN thing also backs it up. If the Cowboys-Eagles game ends in a tie, Redskins would still get in. But I'd like to point out one thing to the Redskins fans who are thinking, oh, we're going to win it. You play Green Bay this weekend. I don't think you're beating the Packers. So that is the standings for that. We will get to basketball and hockey a little bit later. And of course college. But right now it's time to get to this week. So Johnny, get your papers ready because here we go. Thursday night is a battle of 6-6 teams. Winner keeps their playoff hopes alive. Loser may be on life support. It is the Cowboys on the road against Chicago. Dallas, luckily for them, the division sucks. So if they do lose this game, they can win the rest of the way and steal the division. Bears lose this game, and they pretty much are eliminated because of depending on what happens with Minnesota. We know I'm taking my Cowboys here. I think I would love to see them win out and go the rest of the way in, build some momentum as the 4th seed. And I would like to point out to people, because I've heard it all freaking week, that whoever wins this division, they shouldn't even be allowed in the playoffs. May I remind you of the 7-9 Seahawks, who everyone was hating on, shouldn't even be allowed to host a playoff game. They beat the Saints. The Beast Quake game, as it's also known as. I know, John, you know what game I'm referencing there for that one. And I'm sure Dave does as well. Because remember, once you're in the playoffs, records are all back to 0. I'm hoping Dallas wins because that is my team, so I'm picking the Cowboys to win. Once again, like I do every week, go Cowboys.
This is a really hard game for me to pick. Both of these teams are really mediocre. If the Bears somehow make it to the playoff, I don't think they're going to do that well. I think the Cowboys. I just don't even know. I just picked the whole team in this situation.
So you're going to go with the Bears in this one?
Yeah, it's fucking tough.
Well, you and Rosie agree. You both picked the Bears. Moving on to what could possibly be one of the hardest 1 o'clock games to predict. It is the Panthers on the road against the Falcons. Panthers will be having an interim head coach. Dave also picked the Bears. And can you guys please, Rosie and Dave, can you please wait till we actually get to the games, or is you're too far ahead right now? But Rosie has the Panthers. I have a hard time with this one because of the fact of the interim head coach and everything. Panthers have been looking bad the last few weeks. Atlanta hasn't really looked the greatest either. I'm taking Carolina here, but I'm not confident.
I'm taking the Falcon. I think they're going to ruin their tank.
So you think you're taking the Falcons? Rosie's taking the Panthers, and Dave is taking the Falcons as well. The next game, it is the Colts on the road against Tampa Bay. Both teams kind of need this win to keep any hopes alive. Rosie is taking the Colts. Rosie's got Skolsum, so that's why she's just putting them all up there. So, yay me. I had a hard time picking this game because of the fact of what both teams need to do. But I'm taking the Colts as well. I think it's a bounce back win for them because they can still win the division if they get some help. So I'm taking the Colts here. Granted, if Tampa Bay does win this, that'd be fucking hilarious.
I think that's actually going to happen. I'm taking the Bucs.
You're taking the Bucs, and Dave is taking the Colts. So why are you taking the Bucs? You need to catch up to me because I have an 8-game lead.
Yeah, I think the Bucs would actually win this game. I think the Colts have been very pedestrian as of late. Jacoby Brissett hasn't looked the same since the Steelers game. And I think Atlanta is going to miss a crucial game winner. I think this is going to be a real close game. People are anticipating.
Understood. Up next, we head back to New York as the Jets, after getting destroyed by the Bengals, welcome the Miami Dolphins. Now, of course, this is a rematch from earlier this year, and as many of you know, during the first game, I had Miami as an upset pick, beating the Jets, and that was correct. Now, Rosie has the Jets in that game. Dave has the Dolphins. Johnny, do you think the Jets right the ship again, or do you think Miami gets the 4th win of the year?
This is what I hate about the Jets. This is like a Jets game to win. Because coming off a loss against the Bengals, they're probably going to win again randomly because they're the Jets. They don't know how to tank right. And they don't know how to win against bad teams properly. I just hate the Jets.
So you're taking Miami?
No, I'm taking the Jets still.
Taking the Jets. Well, remember what I said not too long ago? I said this was my upset pick earlier this year with this game, and Miami won it. Mm-hmm. This is my upset pick of Week 14. The Dolphins win on the road against the Jets.
That's not much of an upset.
The Jets are favored in this game for some reason. I don't know why. Did we not? I really want to ask Vegas and all these people who are putting that Jets are favored. Did you not watch last week? But I'm taking the Dolphins. I think maybe Fitzpatrick has found that a little bit of that magic in him again, but
magic to fuck up the tank.
Yeah, the magic to fuck up the tank, because they were supposed to be the number 1 pick in the draft, and then they botched it. So I'm going to say Dolphins continue that. Up next, well, I already know who Dave is picking in this game because it's his 49ers taking on the Saints. Rosie has the 49ers as well. So both of them think it's going to be a bounce back. Who do you got, Johnny? Saints or the Niners?
I'll take the Niners.
Taking the Niners. This was a hard game for me because both teams are very good. Both teams play great defensively. Both offenses have been playing pretty well. The thing that has me worried with this game, it is in New Orleans. You know damn well the referees are like, we cannot miss another PI call like we did a few weeks ago. What worries me as well, it is the quarterback situation. I've said before on this show many times, Dave, you can back me up here because I know you watch these videos and I thank you. Johnny's usually doing these with me, so he knows where I'm going with this. I still don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, he's doing what he needs to do, but I still would like to see him in a game, when it's close, lead the offense to a victory with just 2 minutes left. And if I got to pick between quarterback, I'm going to pick Drew Brees because he is the better quarterback. I don't think anybody can make that argument that Drew Brees is the better quarterback. So I'm taking the Saints here, but this does bring up an interesting concept. Who needs to win more? To me personally,
the
49ers need to win more because of the fact of they still got to win their division. Dave says Jimmy holds the ball too damn long, which he does. Niners need this win not only to keep a hold of the 5th seed away from Minnesota, the Rams, and Chicago, but now they got to chase Seattle. Now, of course, I do believe the Niners do play Seattle one more time, so that division's not away yet. But if they lose this game, it does make it a little bit harder for them to win. Saints have already won their division, so at this point, they're just trying to play for a number 1 or 2 seed to get a bye. I think the Saints will probably get that, depending what happens with Green Bay. But Niners need this one a hell of a lot. Week 17. That will probably be the flex game. That will probably be the Sunday night game then, depending what happens. It will probably be the Niners and Seahawks in Week 17, but we'll discuss that more once we get closer to like Week 16. But I'm taking the Saints here, but I do have to agree with the critics that Niners need to win more. Moving on, we head to Minnesota. Vikings coming off a heartbreaking loss on Monday night. The Lions, well, yeah, the Lions are just hoping they can do something with a little bit of Magic to get a draft pick. Rumor is that their head coach might be fired as well, depending how the rest of the season goes. We shall see.
Yeah, honestly, Magic is pretty bad.
Yeah, Rosie has the Vikings winning this game. I got the Vikings winning as well. I just think this is a bounce-back win for them. I know Monday night was a tough loss, but the Lions are just terrible offensively.
Yeah.
And you got the Vikings as well.
Yeah, easily.
And Dave's got the Vikings, so we're pretty much all in agreement. So you know what that means? Lions will win.
Whatever. That means that's not one game I have to worry about.
All right, up next, we have the Broncos taking on the Texans. Broncos coming off a good win against the Chargers. The Dave Locke looks like he should have been playing in week 1, but he was out injured. Texans defense showed up and knocked the Patriots in the mouth. The offense has been playing pretty well. I will say this is a trap game for the Texans. Rosie actually has the upset here, taking Denver. I am taking the Texans. I just think after that big win, I know it could be a letdown week after that big win over the Patriots, but I think Houston's offense is just way better than the Chargers' offense at this point. So I'm taking the Texans, and Dave has the Texans as well.
Yeah, Texans.
All right. Moving on. It is the Ravens at Buffalo. Big game here for both teams. If Baltimore wins, they hold that first #1 seed in the AFC. If Buffalo wins, the whole AFC will be really fucked up. Johnny, since this is your team, I'm going to let you start off first.
If Buffalo wants to prove to me that they're a legitimate team, they gotta beat the Ravens.
So you're going with the Ravens, obviously.
Yeah.
Rosie and Dave are going with the upset. They got Buffalo.
Well, screw you guys too.
For me personally, this was a hard game because, and Johnny, I know you're gonna back me up on this. I've been pretty much speaking the Bills' praises for about a little bit over a month now, saying that their defense is legit. It's the offense I've been questioning, just kind of like with the Niners offense, you know. I'm taking Baltimore here, but I do have to agree with you. This is the game the Bills need to win. If the Bills win this game, no one's not going to be able to say that they're not a legit playoff team, that they're not a threat. Rosie says, Johnny, shut up, LOL, and Dave says, well, I do live in New York, that you do. I think this is, again, kind of like the Niners-Saints game. I have the Saints winning, but Niners need to win technically more. I have the Ravens here, but Buffalo does need to win technically more. Granted, Baltimore needs this as well because Pittsburgh's still alive in the division, but I'm taking Baltimore. I just think that offense has just been way too overpowering. But I think if the Bills can keep it close, kind of like maybe San Francisco was trying to do, Bills can steal it, but we shall see. It is in Buffalo this week, so keep that in mind.
I gotta check the weather. Exactly. Anything can happen in Buffalo.
Up next, we're going to go to Cleveland Rocks and meet Drew Carey and The Miz as the Browns are at home against WKRP.
No, they're the Bengals. They don't even know how to tank right.
Let me do my favorite opening for them.
No, you're not allowed to do that anymore.
As we see the WKRP Cincinnati. The Bengals are going to try to get the second one of the year. Browns are going to try to keep any playoff hopes alive. Rosie has the Bengals. Dave has the Browns. Johnny, are you going to take the Bengals? Do you believe in the magic of Cincinnati?
Fuck no.
I am taking Cleveland as well. We're all gonna be singing Ohio Cleveland Rocks after that game because God knows it ain't gonna be the Bengals. But if the Browns lose this game, they need to fire their head coach immediately because that would be an embarrassment.
I'm surprised the Jets are still an organization.
I agree with that as well. Up next, we head to Green Bay as the Packers are at home against the Redskins. Redskins coming off another big surprising win over Carolina. Redskins need a win out to win the division. Green Bay just needs to keep on winning and they win their division. Rosie has the Packers. I am also taking Green Bay here. I think Redskins momentum. The Redskins fairy tale dream comes to an end. Turn out the lights. the party's over for the Redskins. And I heard you say you're taking the Packers as well. And Dave's got Green Bay. So remember, children, we all agree Redskins will probably win now. Yay. Fuck. You sure you don't want to switch your pick, Johnny? You sure you don't?
Can I just pick a tie?
No, but hey, this game could be a tie if we allowed it. It is the Chargers against Jacksonville. It's the Tank Bowl, part number 3 or 4. I've lost count. I don't know who to trust in this game because Chargers have looked, every time the Chargers come so close to a victory, they find a way to goof it up. We don't know who the Jaguars starting quarterback is. It looks like it could still be Nick Foles, unfortunately. Rosie has the Chargers. Dave has the Jags. Johnny?
Can I just pick a tie?
No.
Just take it all in one.
No.
Fine, I'll pick the Jaguar.
And I'm taking the Chargers here. I flipped a fucking coin. I literally grabbed a coin and was like, okay, if it lands on heads, I'm picking the Chargers. If it lands on tails, I'm taking Jacksonville. Unfortunately, the first time I flipped the coin, it bounced off the floor and landed in the toilet. So I don't know how I should feel about that. But it did land on heads in the toilet. Moving on. We head to Arizona as the Steelers continue their winning ways with a bunch of backup crap. Taking on the Cardinals. I'm taking Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh should have an easy game here. Rosie has the Steelers as well.
This was a very tough game for me to pick. I mean, honestly, this is a game that the Cardinals are probably actually going to show up for one. I really want to choose Steelers, but I think it's an attractive game for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't tend to travel well on the road.
It is true.
I think Arizona pulls out a win.
So you're going with the upset. Is this your upset pick of the week?
No, that's going to be a
different game. And Dave's got the Steelers as well, so we're all kind of somewhat in the same boat to a degree. Moving on, we head to Oakland as the Titans, who are still playing for a playoff seat at the moment, take on the Raiders. I'm taking the Titans. I'm sorry, Raiders, you got blown out the last 2 weeks combined to where it was a disgrace for the organization. You're getting ready to move to Vegas, which reminds me, after this, we're going to talk about the Cardinals player real quick. Dave has the Raiders. Who did Rosie? Rosie has the Titans.
Yeah, I'm taking Titans too.
Before we get to Chiefs Patriots, the Cardinals player who is suspended through the rest of this season and next season for betting and gambling. I kind of find it hypocritical by the NFL because of the fact of the Raiders are going to Vegas next season, and what do you pretty much do in Vegas? You bet, you gamble, and you have sex with hookers. And I also find it a little bit hypocritical on the NFL's part as well because they have no problem taking money from fantasy duel sites and betting picking sites. You know, like FanDuel, which is gambling, but, you know, the NFL is okay with Dave said, what a dumb idiot. I kind of do. I don't think he's an idiot because he was out on injured reserve, so he wasn't really able to affect games. So, again, plus I'm sorry, I can't really say you should suspend a player for gambling or betting if you're going to have a team in Las Vegas. That'd be like having a team in Atlantic City. But Johnny, how do you feel about the guy who was suspended for betting and gambling?
It's really... I just don't think he should. That's suspended until 2020. Jesus God, that's a little harsh.
I do agree there. Alright, moving on now back to fun football. It is the Chiefs on the road against the Patriots. Patriots coming off a surprising loss to the Texans, and the Chiefs are showing why they were a dominant team. Rosie has the Patriots in this one. Johnny, do you think the Patriots bounce back? Or do you think the Chiefs continue their winning ways and make this Patriots offense even look more inept than they already are?
I want to call this my trap game of the week. for the Chiefs. I feel like the Patriots are going to come back. They're going to be offensively gods again for some reason. But I'm actually going to take the Chiefs here.
So you got the Chiefs, and Dave's got the Chiefs, and I got the Chiefs as well. Patriots offense really looked bad against the Texans and Baltimore, so I think if the Chiefs defense can step up, they can win the game easily. Granted, it is in New England, so guys, prepare for refs to magically throw flags that are not there. Then the NFL is going to be like, yeah, that should have not been called, and do nothing about it.
Interference on Patrick Mahomes. Patriots win.
Yeah.
Pretty much what's going to call.
Passing it offsides, Andy Reid. Heading to the Sunday night game.
The older.
Yeah, the owner came down and flicked him off. Heading to the Los Angeles now as the Rams on the road against the Seahawks. Now, my buddy Captain Ron, he is a Rams fan. He thinks the Rams will win the rest of the way and actually win the division. You know that's not how it works, Dave. You have to pick a team. Rosie has the Rams here. Johnny, do you think the Seahawks continue their winning ways and hold on to that division lead, or do you think the Rams kind of help?
This is why I'm taking the week. I'm taking the Rams.
You're taking the Rams, okay. Dave's taking the Rams as well. I'm taking the Seahawks here. I think the Seahawks are the better team, offensively and defensively. I don't trust the Rams at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think the Seahawks. I mean, they never really win in Los Angeles or St. Louis. I mean, there's a strong tendency of losing in the Rams' house.
Well, I'm hoping that doesn't happen, because remember what I said in my preseason, I did not have the Rams making it. And right now, I'm getting a little bit worried about that right now.
No, the Rams would make it.
No, I actually changed it and had the Rams didn't make it. So I need that to come true. So I need the Seahawks to win here to help me out in that one. Plus, it would be nice to make sure that the Rams miss it just so Captain Ron can't celebrate, in case my Cowboys do miss it. Moving on, after having two great Monday night games, I know, Dave, Rams beating the Seahawks does help the Rams, but I do not want to see any more teams from California in the playoffs as much as I don't have to. It ain't bad enough. I know we're going to see one team in. As you can tell, I hate the state of California with a passion. Monday night game. We've had two good Monday night games, but sadly that comes to an end. That is the Giants against the Eagles. Eli Manning will be starting for the Giants this Monday. Eagles are at home after a bad loss to Miami. Rosie has the Eagles here, but I'm going to be honest here. This was a hard pick, because now with Eli starting, does that change anything? Does that actually make the Giants an easier game for this to lose, or does this make this harder for the Eagles to win, since Eli has not played since about week 2 or 3? Plus the Eagles offensively and defensively looked bad in the second half of games. It's like if they're leading in the first half, they end up losing it in the second half. Look at that Miami game. Dave has the Eagles here. Johnny, who do you got?
Locking away Eagles.
I got the Eagles as well, but I'm going to be honest here. If the Eagles lose, I wouldn't be surprised with how they've been playing the last few weeks.
Again, Giants.
I know everyone's saying that, but everyone said the same thing about them beating Miami, and well, almost everybody. And look what happened there, Miami.
Ironically, I'm going back to what I said about the Dolphins game, and I think I'm.
So you're going to change it to the Jets?
Whoa. Wait, what? No. No. I'm not changing anything.
All right, and I got the Eagles as well, so it should be interesting to see if you can catch up or not. And of course, I do thank Rosie and Dave for.
Watch me just go 15-0 for some reason, or 16-0.
If you go 16-0, that'd be fucking hilarious. But then it's like because we agreed on so many games too, though. All right, so that does it for that part of the NFL. But we're gonna head to college football real quick. The top 4 teams in the playoff were announced, but the official 4 teams going to announce Sunday. But the top 4 Well, Ohio State, LSU, Georgia, and Clemson. Clemson's the third team. LSU and Georgia play against each other on Saturday, so whoever wins that game will most likely get in. If Georgia loses, they will most likely be out. Wolverines don't play this weekend, Dave, so you're just going to have to wait to see what bowl game they get on Sunday. Neither does Notre Dame either. The funny thing is, if Georgia loses, that does open the door for 3 teams: Utah, Baylor, and Oklahoma. Utah plays Oregon on Friday, which we will discuss that game in a minute, and Baylor and Oklahoma play against each other on Saturday. So, depending what happens, Georgia, if they lose, I think either Utah, Baylor, Oklahoma go in. If Georgia wins, however, that does set them things up a bit, because then LSU would have a loss, and then the committee's going to be like, okay, do we put LSU in, who only losses against Georgia just won the conference, or do we put one of these other teams who just won a conference? It's going to be interesting what they do. I know I did watch that Auburn-Alabama game, but we're going to start with the Utah-Oregon game. That is Friday night. It is the only Friday game for college football this week. I got Utah winning this game because I think Utah will be the 4th seed.
I want to go Utah.
Utah, all right. The rest of these games are on Saturday. Baylor against Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
I got Baylor. Up next, it is Appalachian State against Louisiana.
Louisiana.
I got Appalachian State. Dave's got Oklahoma. Up next, Central Michigan against Miami of Ohio.
Miami of Ohio.
I'm taking Central Michigan. Next one is UAB versus FAU.
I guess I'll go FAU.
Man, you and me are not agreeing with anything. I got UAB. Up next, and this is a rematch from this past weekend, actually. Memphis and Cincinnati for their conference championship. Now, of course, Saturday, Memphis won. So this is a rematch. I think Memphis, though, gets the second one in a row against Cincinnati and wins the conference.
Yeah, Memphis.
LSU against Georgia. Like I've already talked about this game a little bit. Winner guarantees himself a probably the 1 or 2 seed in the playoff.
Wait, what was it?
LSU and Georgia.
LSU.
I got LSU as well. Boise State against Hawaii.
Boise State.
I also got Boise State as well. Clemson against Virginia. By the way, this is Virginia's first time playing in the ACC football championship. They're mostly known for basketball, not football, but congratulations to Virginia. But I'm taking Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson.
I will say this, though. If Virginia does win, it's going to cause some hectic in the playoff for college. In the last game on Saturday, it is Ohio State taking on Wisconsin. I got Ohio State.
Yeah, I got Ohio.
All right, and Dave's got Virginia, Boise, LSU, Memphis, Ohio, and Oklahoma. Now it's time for our other time to go to the other 2 sports before we go. And of course, the first one we're going to be talking about, it is hockey, baby. And how do you feel about the Jersey Devils firing their head coach?
Fucking love it.
Were you celebrating? You opened a bottle. Well, to quote Chris Jericho, did you do a little bit of the bubbly and celebrate that?
No, I just simply the crab rave.
I don't know what the hell that is.
You know that video of crabs dancing?
No.
No, never mind.
Do I look like I watch videos of crabs dancing? 9 times out of 10, I'm watching anime or video game shit on YouTube.
Do we talk about the standings in hockey?
We will get to the standings in a minute. Just a quick recap of a few things that have happened. Wild Jared Segogo is out 2 weeks. Mikko Kovlov's day-to-day. Sharks' Evan O'Kane has been fined $5,000 for elbowing captains Rikio Goddess. And yes, I know I'm mispronouncing the names. I apologize. Dave will get to Maple Leafs in a minute. And of course, we already said the Flyers fired their the Devils fired their head coach, and the Flyers forward Michael Orr is out for 4 weeks after breaking his finger. So going into the standings real quick, Johnny, what's the thing you want to talk about with them? Because I know some things have changed.
The Atlantic.
Okay, so the first...
Besides the Bruins.
Bruins are the 1 seed. Florida's 2. Buffalo is 3.
Look at the points.
I do see the points, yeah. Boston's got 45, then it's like Florida takes a nosedive at 31, and Buffalo takes a nosedive at 31.
And Montreal's at 30, Toronto's at 30, Tampa Bay's at 29.
Yeah, and Carolina, I think they're from the Atlantic, correct? And that's why they're the...
No, Carolina's from Metro.
And which one's Pittsburgh from? Metro as well, aren't they?
Yeah, Capitals, Islanders, Flyers, Hurricanes, Penguins.
So that means Carolina would have... Well, then who would Carolina play there? Because then, since both of them are not from the Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
Because Carolina's the number 1 wild card seed at the moment, followed by Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they would have to play. It's a tie in terms of points between the Capitals and Bruins.
Okay. Because I usually thought, yeah, the wild card's controlled in my head now.
Let me go to the wild card standing.
I have it up on my phone. That's why I.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell.
Yeah, so pretty much the only way. In Dave right now, Toronto's on the outside looking in because they're at 30 points, but it is kind of weird knowing that it looks like Atlantic's only going to have 3 teams in the playoffs: Boston, Florida, and Buffalo. Because Metropolitan's going to have 5 teams, it looks like, because of wild card situation. And right now, we don't know who the number 1 seed's going to be in the Eastern Conference because Boston and Washington both have the same amount of points. As far as for the Metropolitan seeds, Washington's 1, followed by the Islanders and Philly. Philly was a wild card team, but they've been on a winning streak. Carolina and Pittsburgh are your 2 wild card teams there. In the Western Conference, the St. Louis Blues are the 1 seed at the moment and overall the number 1 overall in the Western Conference, followed by Winnipeg and Colorado. The Pacific top 3 leaders are Edmonton, Arizona, and the Vegas Golden Knights. Your 2 wild card teams are Dallas and Vancouver in the for the Western Conference. That pretty much means the rest of these games are very important because when does the playoffs start anyway?
April.
April. Okay, so we're not. So right now the seeding it's still anybody's games.
Yeah. Except for the Devils. You can't do anything right.
Well, except for the Devils and
the Wings and
LA.
At least we're not the worst team in the Eastern this year. I want to die.
The Devils are the... Oh, no, that's right. The Red Wings are the worst in teams. So you can at least say you're better than one team. Getting to the games tonight, because we usually try to make games sometimes when we can remember.
Devils make me want to cry at night.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what the Philly fans say about the Dolphins. The Dolphins make me cry. Thank you, Hootie and the Blowfish, for that song, by the way. Game 1 tonight at 8 o'clock. Well, this is not the first game, but it's my main game. At 8 o'clock on NBC Sports, it is the Blues on the road taking on the Penguins. You know I got my Penguins.
I'm taking the Blues. I think the Penguins are going to miss Sydney in this game.
Go to hell.
Okay.
Go hang out with your former Devils head coach and live with him. He can tell you how to live. He'll probably screw that up. Avalanche on the road against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Give me the Avalanche.
I'm going to take the Avalanche as well. That's at 7 o'clock tonight on RSN Network.
Who knows who that is?
I think it's some kind of station in Canada.
I would imagine.
Third game tonight at 9:30 on the TVA network, which I never heard of that network. It is the Senators taking on the Oilers. So I'm going to take
the Oilers.
I'm taking the Oilers as well. And the last one tonight, it's at 10 o'clock tonight on RSN Network or the ESPN Plus. or if you have the Washington Sports Network package, it is the Capitals on the road against the Kings. I'm taking the Caps.
Yeah. That's good. That's where the basketball.
Yeah, the NBA. And boy, did you hear about that dunk that was taken away from the Rockets yesterday that should have counted?
I didn't watch that game.
Yeah, pretty much. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, the Rockets still blew a lead. Here's the thing, though. If the dunk would have been counted, which even the NBA came out last night, well, no, it was like 1 or 2 in the morning, said that dunk should have counted, that would have been 2 points. And guess what? There's no overtime. Rockets would have barely got out of San Antonio with a win. Now, why do I say that? Well, here's the thing. Hardaway's breakaway dunk with 7 minutes and 50 seconds left remaining would have given the Rockets a 104-89 lead. The ball ripped through the net and back over the rim before bouncing off, and the officiating crew mistakenly ruled that Harden missed the dunk and denied Houston coach Mike D'Antoni attempting to challenge the call. Unfortunately, after replays and even the NBA came out and said they looked at it and it should have counted because he dunked it so hard that the net carried it back over the rim a second time. Now here's the thing to that. If that would have counted, it would have not went into overtime. And here's the funny thing. The last time this happened was back if they restarted, because that's what rumor is, they might restart the whole game from that point. March 8, 2018, between the Heat and the Hawks. 4 months earlier, the Hawks defeated the Heat 117-111 at home in overtime. But the official score incorrectly ruled out Miami's Shaquille O'Neal fouled out with 51.9 seconds left in the game. The league decided to have Miami and Atlanta replay the final 51 seconds before the team's next scheduled game, and the Hawks ultimately won 114-111. Tuesday night, the Spurs outscored the Rockets by 26-13 margin in the remainder of regulation after the Hayden Dunk controversy. The Rockets did lead by as many as 22 points in that third quarter. But again, if that dunk would have counted, there would have been no overtime. So it is going to be interesting to see what the NBA does. I do think they're going to restart the game. So we're going to see something most likely for the first time since 2018. Johnny, your thoughts on that?
This is why I hate the Rockets. This right here. I feel like they never really blame themselves for the loss. I mean, yes, it's a bullshit call, but do you know how, like, during last year's playoff run, they audited the Warriors Rockets Game 7?
I did hear about that.
This is what the Rockets do all the time.
I would agree with you there.
But here's the thing, they have a free throw king.
I do understand that, but as much as I would love to disagree with the Rockets until the Rockets just shut the hell up and take that loss for blowing that big lead in the fourth quarter, knowing that if that dunk would have counted, they would have won the game by the skin of their teeth, I have to go, unfortunately, agree with the Rockets in saying you have to restart the game, or as some people have said, reverse the decision and give the Rockets the win because they would have won the game if the 2 points would have counted. I don't think the NBA will reverse it. I think they're just going to say, hey, the next time you teams both have a day off, we're going to restart the game where the dunk counted, and we play the last 7 minutes of the fourth quarter. Now here's my question. Now people have said, well, they're going to have the people who watch that game, the fans. I'm like, I'm sure they're going to find a way to charge fans to go see that game. But I think they will just restart the game. I do see that. And Dave says, let's go Celtics. He's a Boston Celtics fan. Checking the standings in the Eastern Conference. Milwaukee's the number 1 seed, followed by Miami at 2, Toronto at 3, Boston at 4, the Sixers at 5th, Pacers at 6, the Brooklyn Nets at 7, and the Orlando Magic at 8. But the best thing of all, the New York Knicks are still your reigning, defending, terrible-ass fucking team. Dave says Warriors doing bad this season, and I know Curry is still injured. The Warriors are doing bad because they have injuries. Almost all their top 5 starters are out with injuries. All the stars are all out injured. Curry's out for at least another few months because of his hand. The other Splash Brothers out for the season because of the surgery. Green has not been playing because of injury, so they're pretty much using a bunch of guys no one can find on a map. That's why the Warriors are the worst team in the Western Conference, but at least for the Warriors, it's actually working out for them because, hey, you can get a good draft pick and get somebody to go with Curry and Green and all them. Going to the Western Conference, Lakers are the 1 seed, followed by the Clippers. Denver Nuggets are the 3rd seed. My Dallas Mavericks are the 4th. Houston's the 5th seed. Johnny's Utah Jazz are the 6th seed. Good job, Johnny.
Terrible. You know the Jazz Raptors game on Sunday?
I did, and that game kind of made me chuckle.
Oh my god. This team is doing awful right now.
But not awful enough to where they're not in the hunt. 7 is the Minnesota Timberwolves, and 8 are the Phoenix Suns. I'm actually trying to remember the last time the Phoenix Suns made the fucking playoffs or had a winning record. By the way, it looks like the Spurs could miss the playoffs, but I know it's still early. But let's get to some games tonight. My team does play tonight, so we'll talk about that one first, because that's the first one that always pops up for me. It's at 8:30 tonight. It's the Timberwolves on the road against my Dallas Mavericks. I'm taking the Mavericks.
Wait, who are they playing?
Timberwolves, good old Minnesota.
Yeah, it could be the Mavs.
Alright. Next game at 7 o'clock, it is the Warriors against the Hornets. I'm taking the Hornets. No, I ain't taking these fucking Warriors.
Yeah, give me the Horns.
Alright, before we get to the next game, Dave says Melo, though. Yes, Carmelo Anthony is back. I think it might help the Trailblazers, at least in the short game, get tickets. I just don't know if they'll make the playoffs. And up next, it is the Bucks on the road against the Pistons. I'm taking the Bucks. That game's also at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, give me the Bucks.
Suns at Magic.
This is an interesting game in a way. Both 8 seeds kind of like... I'm taking the home team in this game. I'm taking the Magic.
Well, I believe in Walt Disney and Magic, so I'm going to go with the Magic as well. Up next at 7:30, it is the Miami Heat taking on Boston.
Interesting game. I think Boston gets it at home.
This is the only thing I will say nice about Boston. I do respect the Boston Celtics, but fuck the Bruins, fuck the Patriots, and fuck the Red Sox. But Celtics I'm okay with, so go Celtics. Nets on the road against the Hawks.
I'm going to actually take the Hawks in upset.
I'm going to take the Hawks as well. I think the Nets are kind of overrated. Oh god, we actually got a 10 o'clock game tonight. That's going to be fun. Up next at 8 o'clock, it is the Pacers at the Thunder.
Dude, the Pacers.
I got the Pacers as well. And a game that means nothing at 8 o'clock, Grizzlies at Chicago Bulls. Who cares?
I'm taking the Grizzlies because fuck life.
I'm going to take Grizzlies because fuck Chicago. And I know who you're going to pick in this game. It's the Lakers at Utah.
I have to take the Jazz.
9 o'clock on NBA TV, and Johnny, guess who I'm going to pick?
I don't even know.
It's time for a little bit of jazz music, baby, because I'm going to take the Jazz, and I'm going to make sure the Lakers sing the blues tonight.
If you're smart, just pick the
You think
Lakers.
I'm picking the Lakers? You know how much I hate the fucking Lakers right now. Bunch of overpaid... Oh, we're going to get a bunch of talented players because we can't build to the draft. No, we just got to buy a bunch of star players and suck their dick. So, fuck you, LA. Just fuck you. Unless you're the Clippers. I like the Clippers, but the Lakers. Fuck LeBron James. Fuck Unibrow. Fuck their head coach. Fuck their owner. Fuck their team base. Fuck everybody who loves the Lakers. I hope to God you all end up in a car wreck. Because fuck LA. Fuck California. I feel better now. I feel better now. In the last game, it is the Kings against the Trailblazers.
This could be the Kings.
I'm taking the Trailblazers because Carmelo Anthony is a better player than LeBron crybaby bitch James. Can you tell I just love the Lakers? I don't even get what's the everyone's like, oh, the Lakers, they're so great. they had to use all this money to buy talent and get rid of young talent, and that's why they deserve to lose and lose their souls.
The only bad thing is they're actually doing stuff.
I know, that's what fucking sucks. They're gonna win it. I mean, California team should not be allowed to win anymore. You already get good weather. You don't get any snow. So
say that to wildfires.
You know what? I think that those are the sports gods punishing California for having so many sports teams. Ain't I just a nice person? By the way, if you can't tell I'm joking, you don't know me very well. I know Johnny's like, wait a minute, is he really joking or telling the truth though? I'm joking.
I can't tell
as much as I do hate the Lakers that much, I do feel sorry for the happens in the wildfires. But Dave, I will actually discuss the John Morrison thing on another video because this is for mostly the pros. I'm not discussing WWE for the most part because Johnny does not watch WWE, so that would be me and Fire Ninja. Yeah, kind of like I do when I'm watching WWE programming right now. But anyway, good luck to your teams this week if they do have a game. Enjoy tomorrow night's football game of the Bears in Chicago. I think it will at least be interesting and won't be as bad as the Monday night game we're getting. And don't forget, next week we do have a game that was switched. It is not the Vikings and Chargers next Sunday night. It is the Steelers and the Bills. Keep that in mind. And don't forget, next Thursday, it is the Jets against Baltimore. So I'm sure Johnny will just love ranting about that game. But until then, Dave, you can go to hell. I still love you like a brother, but you can go to hell in that comment. But I'll see you next time.